Hello. So let's have a look who's already in the room. I think we're missing a couple of people. Well, good evening, everybody. Nice to see so many people have signed up for our first webinar. It's absolutely amazing. Um, we're waiting for a couple of more minutes till everybody arrives. What we're talking today about is just basically about the British Mantrailing Academy and how we feel about trailing and the approach to it. There are lots of people in the room who already been training with us, but there are loads and loads of new people in the room, and that's really, really great. So that's a great urge for getting some knowledge, more knowledge on man trailing, which is absolutely brilliant. We give it a couple of more minutes. We have got three more people missing, and then make a start. What I'd like you to ask first is if you all can hear me all right, and I like to test this. Can you just type into the chat box, please? And at the same time, if you can let me know where you're from, that would be amazing. So I have a better idea who is in the room, because I believe there are loads and lots of people from other countries in the room. That would be amazing. Great. Good. Well, Kent. Good. 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 Great. So everybody can hear me. That's great. Oh, from the UK. Great. Wow. Staffordshire. Lots of areas where we haven't been yet. Oh, hello, Daniel from Argentina. Wow. Nice country. Right. We're all here now. Wow, this is brilliant. So everybody who haven't typed in yet that you can hear me. Hello, Mita from Slovenia. Great stuff. Right. As I said in the beginning, there are lots of people in the room who know me already. But for the ones who don't know me, my name is Karen Lee. I'm the owner and one of the main instructors for the British Mantrailing Academy. I'm doing now trailing for over 10 years. I have a lot of dog experience in my real life. I am an explosive detection handler for a big security company in this country. Working dogs for over half of my life in sport and search and rescue. I'm a member from with Essex Search and Rescue. We deploying trailing dogs via the Essex Police for 10 years, very successful. We started all of this because we had a really high drive Malamar, which basically couldn't be trusted off lead because she just done her own thing, but had an amazing nose, and we needed to control that, but give her a job as well. So when we came across then Kevin Kocher and his wife Robin Monroe Kocher, who at that time had their book out, Training the Police Bloodhound. And we found out they have a webinar in Germany, and we booked a place on this for my husband Richard and Folly. And basically the rest is history. In the meantime, we learned from other people how to trail. It's nothing new. I have a presentation prepared, and we give that a go in a minute. Trailing is kind of the hardest thing you can actually ask a dog to do, but once they've got the game and they love the game, it's very addictive. So you have to be very careful if you don't do trailing already. Bit of housekeeping. If you have technical problems, best thing to do is go out and go back in. And that brings me to, I really, really like to apologize to you guys that we had so many technical problems. This is a really new field for me, and I'm not a technical person at all. I'm a dog trainer and dog handler. I'm a hands-on person, and this is really daunting me. But I think it's a great way to share knowledge, and we live in times where we have to find different ways how to communicate with each other and how to share skills, how to share knowledge. And that's the reason why I decided to let me into, yeah, this adventure, literally. So if you have any questions, I try to keep an eye on the chat window and answer them while we go along. If I miss something out, guys, at the end we have a bit of more question and answer session, so we get on with it at the end. But as I said, if you have a question in between, just type it in and I make sure that we answer those. Right, this is our presentation I have prepared for you guys. What we're going to talk about this evening is a couple of facts about Mantrailing we learned the hard way and while we were going along. We talk about what actually is Mantrailing. What is it? We talk about the difference between tracking and trailing. What is the basis for the scent discrimination, which is a big part of Mantrailing. And then I introduce you to the British Mantrailing Academy, what we do, what we offer, and how we approach a training. Right. Mantrailing, searching for people using mantrailing has a place in history for a very, very, very long time. It's basically since the 17th century when the first bloodhounds been given as a present to the King of England to hunt for William Wallace. There's in history as well, there are a couple of different stories about the Jack the Ripper that they brought bloodhounds in belonging to Major Richardson. They trained them in Hyde Park. Some of the history said it was successful. Jack the Ripper stopped. Some say it was not successful. The dogs just didn't perform, and they've been brought back to the owner. That's one of the history. Then they have a history mainly in America when the first people went to America and settled and been abducted by the Native Americans. They used bloodhounds over there to find them, and later, obviously, in the slave trade, they used them to recover criminals and runaway slaves, basically. It's been discovered as a sport fairly recent, and it's an absolute brilliant outlet nearly for all dogs and their attached humans. Has a potential to be integrated in the behavior modification plan. That's a different webinar we're having next because it's something very close to my heart. Mantrailing doesn't exclude dogs with behavior issues, but it's not a cure. It's an aid, and I like to talk about that in a different webinar, really. So let's have a look. What is mantrailing? What is it? It's basically training a dog to master the art to hunt a specific human being using scent discrimination. That's basically what it is. The problem is that dogs do not follow human scent naturally. It needs to be trained, and not every dog is willing to do that. Mantrailing is also training a dog to work with his handler in a team. That's a very, very big part of it, because if the team is not working well together, the trail will throw some difficulties. Training a dog handler to read the dog's body language is the biggest part of mantrailing. Once dog knows a game, they haven't got no issue. They can use them nose absolutely fine. It's just a handler to read what the dog is telling them. That's the biggest problem. That's where most handlers really fail their poor dogs. It's training the dog handler to trust their dog, because once you have given that scent article, the handler needs to let go. And this is where the problem is. The handler needs to let go of all control. Is a really, really problematic thing for human beings because we like to control it, and you can't control trailing. It's chaos. We can't see the scent. We don't even know what these guys are looking at with their noses. So you need to let go. And this is where lots and lots of people have a problem. We always see this when handlers come to us. It's always controlling because they think sometimes a trail must have been gone there. You can't possibly not go through brambles in Essex. Believe me, you can. So let's have a look at the difference between tracking and trailing. Tracking and trailing is try to make an attempt to accomplish the same thing. They follow the scent left on the ground by human or an animal passing through the environment. That's what both do. The dog should follow only one scent, asked to be followed only one scent, and they shouldn't really switch from individual to individual. Or between humans and animals. So this is another problem. If you have a dog that's really, really gamey, it's most likely, if it finds it difficult to follow the human trail, will switch to an animal trail or something more attractive. That's in a nutshell what they do. Dogs are cheaters, and dogs don't want a difficult life. That's what dogs do. If they find something more attractive, much easier for them to follow, they will switch. And this is, again, going back to the previous slide. You as a handler need to read what that dog is doing. So both terms, tracking and trailing, apply to following the scent left on the ground by that individual. Trailing historically is a more effective method of locating humans with the canine. I'll come to that in a minute, why it is like that. So the theory behind tracking is generally twofold. The footstep that cause the ground disturbance is what the dog follows. So if we walk along, we crush vegetation, we disturb leaves, we disturb dirt, we kick little leaves and sticks about, and that is the ground disturbance and the footsteps on this ground disturbance causing that. That's one thing these dogs follow, trained for tracking. The footsteps have a location in the middle where this human scent belonging to that person walking along is the most concentrated. The trailing is a descriptive word for the art of allowing a dog to follow human scent where that scent might be. On the ground, in the air, together with what we call productive sources. I talk about productive sources in a minute. It can be taken one step further by adding the scent discrimination to the equation. Each and every animal human produces a distinctive odor based on species or subdetermined factors. We explain in a minute what that means. So the police canines are using tracking method. And I find that a little bit misleading because I think it's actually more traditional scent work. They're not specifically trained most of the time to scent discriminate, but they're super, super effective going after fresh human scent from a scene. So, for example, if you have decamped from a vehicle, they are super good at picking up that scent. And there is another reason why they're good at it, is because most criminals, knowing there's a police dog behind them, really, really have emotional fear scent in their scent picture. And dogs like that. They love it, especially if they have pointy ears. Believe me, they love a little bit of emotional scent. But then when it comes to urban and hard ground, because due to their training, these dogs are a little bit disabled compared to a dog that is trained for trailing. And the reason is, again, talking about productive sources in a minute. As I said, they're very, very good in tracking criminals, and the training these dogs have gone through. They're able to start without a scent article. That's another difference, and it's not uncommon that the ground disturbance somebody causes on soft ground and the individual human scent being separated at some point. And the ground disturbance is going to vanish much quicker than the individual scent. Guys, any questions? Do you have any questions at all? The difference between tracking and trailing. Anybody has got a question? No? Somebody typing? Somebody's typing. Let's wait. We talk about why the trailing dogs, how the trailing dogs do this in a bit. Somebody's typing. Right. Well, the trailing dogs, they switch between ground disturbance, air scent, and where they find the individual human scent. How this is produced, we go in a minute. They switch between all three of them, where the purely tracking trained dogs are not capable of doing that. They haven't been taught to find that individual scent somewhere else. Sometimes you can see a police dog being self-taught, but not the training they really follow. They have a different training method. They're training purely on footsteps. Well, IPO style tracking is the same thing. The IPO tracking is purely based on footstep tracking, and you can try to teach them trailing, but if you do IPO competitions, you might be ending up with a problem, because obviously, as I said in the beginning, dogs are cheaters. They will find a way. And I know for a fact, if your dog is not tracking as it's been laid on the map, you're going to lose points. So you need to make your mind up what you want, because otherwise, if you have a sport dog, obviously, if you don't mind losing a couple of points and want to use the dog for tracking as well, but if you take the sport really seriously, I know for a fact losing points on the track or it's not very nice, because I used to do that. I used to do IPO and I always lost point in tracking. Does that answer your questions, Alex? Because obviously for working tracks it's different over here, because they're not really they're really not that focused on having stick to the footstep. They allow a little bit either side of the track, I believe. I have never looked into that. As a sport I never entertained. It's yeah, I don't know. It's not my thing really, to be honest. Right, let's have a look. So trailing dogs. So how do they do what they do? Wait a minute. Sorry, guys. Bear with me. Right. So what do they really follow? So the thing is, we all of us humans are different. We have not only different physical characteristics, we also have a different blood type. We also have a different metabolism. We also have different hormone balances. We have inherited genes, and there's a difference in everybody how they process emotional stuff, and that results in an imbalance in the hormones, which then add to the same picture. So things play a role in physical body functions. So, for example, let's have a look at the sweat glands, which is the obvious one. Some people have more sweat glands than others. People with dark skin from African countries have the most. People from Asia have the least sweat glands. We definitely have different cultural dietary variations. People from Asia eat a lot of spices, where people from European countries not so much. The cells and skin shedding is different. The skin secretion is different. We use different toiletries. Some people might even have inhabitants like lice and fleas and stuff like that. Our clothing and shoes is different. That's all a different. It makes all a difference to our body. It's well known by scientists that people from Asia have a different earwax, for example, and all of this has an effect in the odor. As I said, the diet plays a big role. If people eat a lot of fat, fish, garlic, if people still smoke a lot, all of this goes into the body picture. So let's have a look at this. So I don't want to bore most of you know about all the 40,000 cells we shed every minute and they're turn into rafts. They're super, super small, but they still can carry billions of bacteria. Billions. And they also have body secretion bits. What we also have is a thin layer of air around our body. It's next to the skin surface, which travels from the feet to the head and releases the raft in the atmosphere doing that. So it's not so much the raft, the footprints, again, coming back to the tracking trained dogs. It goes up to the head and then it falls on the ground. So straight away, the raft, they fall either side of you or in front of you or in back of you. They don't fall, drop off the feet. So straight away, they go in the air. And then obviously the environment, the weather, the wind plays a role where they end up. So this is basically what happens, how we leave a scent picture behind. Right. So we said we have human scent, we lose the rafts whilst we walk. We have the ground scent, which is the rafts that hit the surface, wherever they hit it. We have crushed and bruised vegetation, which goes away after a while. We have vapor production by the bacteria on the ground and the raft. So they disturb the ground, they grow there, and the more humid it is, the better they grow and the longer they stay. Then we have the additional scent in that picture, which is perfume, washing powder, shoe polish, again, the diet you eat. That makes our individual scent. And if you look at this little photo and see the little beagle in the corner, you can see all the colored dots. And this is how the dogs see the world. For example, the boy on the bike, he is green dotted. The boy in the background is purple. The butchers, which in the background is yellow, because obviously that leaves the biggest scent picture of the dog. And then we have obviously the cat, which leaves a little bit of pink behind. And I always say, if scent would be pink, we wouldn't need a dog. So, and this is a scent picture we asked the Mantrailing dog to follow, ignoring all the distractions, all the contamination by other scent, sound, and vision. This is quite a task we asked them to do, if you be really, really honest. This is quite a hard thing. And as I said in the beginning, it's not natural to the dog to do that. It needs to be trained. They are naturally following animal scent, most of them. But as I said, human scent needs to be trained. Right. Any questions, guys? Any questions? Any questions? No, nobody? My God, it's me. I must be really, really good. Coming back to this. So, as I said, it's a really hard job you ask your dogs to do if you're interested in Mantrailing. And what's really, really, really important is that you set these guys up to succeed. It's really, really super, super, super important that you train your dog in a venue where there is very little contamination and distraction in any kind of way. This is why we have all our venues licensed, and we have venues where nobody is allowed to go. We have keys to these venues, and some venues are totally, there's no other human sent there. And when we start our puppies, this is where we go. Somebody's typing a question. What type of dog is best for Mantrailing, ground or air centers? I don't know really. It's an individual dog really, because if you train for Mantrailing, Beth, they do actually a little bit of both. I talk a little bit about the end scent picture in a minute. Let's talk about the actual trail. It's more the individual dog. Some dogs are just don't want to do it, to be honest. There are some dogs who are not genetically made up for this game because they are meant companion dogs, or they struggle a little bit because they have got a flat nose like bull breeds. It depends on the individual dog, and that's what I always say, and that's what I get at in a minute. It's important the dog is enjoying it. Well, Becky, we talked about that dog, and he is an amazing dog. It's individual, you know. It's I can say that Becky has got a Pharaoh hound, which is a sight hound, but he has an amazing nose on him, and he knows the job. But more important is Becky knows her dog, and she can read her dog. And this is what I said in the beginning. It's a team game. It's a team game. It's a team effort. It's a team play. And this is why Mantrailing is so fantastic. It's going to change the relationship with your dog. You will have a much better relationship, and you do something really, really great together. But as I always say, and it's important, the dog enjoys it. As much as you love trying something new with your dogs, it is the dog needs to enjoy it. So when we start off, young dogs, old dogs, whatever comes, we make sure these dogs enjoy it. And it's all about the end of the trail. The runner, trailer, acting mister, whatever you want to call it, is a very, very important person when you imprint dogs on trailing. And you have to be looking at the individual dog, how the trailer approaches that dog. If you have a dog that's not very comfortable around people, it's a bit wary, which I've got Malinois, as most people know. I've got a bloodhound. I also have a Malinois. I had one of the most amazing trailing Malinois in the UK. Cedric worked over 400 cases for the Essex police, and he was really, really successful, but he was never a friend of people. He loved hunting people. There was no two ways about it, but he did not want to engage with the person at the end. He wanted to engage with me. That person he hunted down served one purpose. He wanted the game with me. And you need to know your dog. You know, if a dog is wary of people, then you need to instruct your runner not to engage with the dog, and you reward the dog away from the runner. And that's something I'm going to cover in the webinar about the behavior issues. And it's all about the individual dog and the handler as a team. And when I introduce the BMA in a minute, we're going to talk about this a bit more in depth. But coming back to the start of the training, what's important is to use a massive scent article to give them a really, really good scent picture. And the trails have to be short. And it's important when you imprint the dog for trailing that you take the visual part out of it straight away. Because especially if you have a dog that's like the Malinois, which are really, really try to use their eyes, try to use their ears before they try to use their nose. They are really, really clever, and they're really, really the biggest cheaters you could think about. So that's what you need to do. And then at the end, you need to make sure the reward is appropriate for the dog. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's cat food, if it's a toy, if it's a game with you, if it's a game with a trailer, if they engage with people. My hounds love people. Bloodhounds love people. You know, they're gonna snog the end the person at the end a bit if you let them. But you have to know your dog. And if you go training somewhere, no matter where you go for training, you need to own that a little bit. And you need to stand your ground for your dog. That's the important bit. As much as you love to do that, if you see your dog doesn't like trailing, as much as you two want to do something new and exciting together, if you find out your dog doesn't like it, don't do it. It's not fair on your dog, really, be honest. So let's talk about the British Mantrailing Academy. Do you have any questions, guys? Any questions at all? Nope. Nope. No. Okay. If someone thinks of something, just start typing and I'll keep an eye on it. Let's talk about the British Mantrailing Academy, how that all happened. As I said earlier, in 2011, we realized that Folly has got an amazing nose, but she has no self-control, so she needed to go on the lead a bit quickly. And we trained with Kevin Kocher, we trained with Jeff Shackler, we trained with Alan Williams, Mark Brown, and a lot of other people. And we basically picked from everybody what we think would work for us, for our dogs. We have a massive toolbox, obviously. We learned from these people a great deal, but the ones who taught us the most were our own dogs and the people who came training with us and the problems we encountered on the way. Because trailing, as I said, is not plain sailing at all. It's one of the most difficult things you can train the dog, as I said in the beginning. So what happened then, actually, it was triggered by Alan and Mark to say, you should teach people. And still, up to 2018, we thought we really not good enough for this. We really not good enough for this. Bearing in mind at that point, we were in the lowland area of the UK, the only ones who deployed trailing dogs. But still, we didn't want to to pose our view on people. But then what we saw was there was no structured training really available for people who really wanted to do trailing, and especially the ones who wanted to go into the operational route. So what we did is then I have a really good friend who is internal quality assurer for Skills for Justice. And I sat down with him and I said, look, there's no qualification, nothing. Where in the private security sector in the UK, there is an organization called NASTO, and we done all our training with NASTO. But as I said, nothing for trailing handlers available. So what happened then is that we thought we need to do something about it. And this is how our dog handler course came about. I wrote the course, I took it to Skills for Justice, and they absolutely snapped it off our hands and said that's absolutely brilliant. We have that. So that's been recognized. And the course is 6 months long. And what the handlers have to do is they come 6 long weekends, and the handlers get 120 guided learning hours of us, but they have to put in at least 200 to 240 hours themselves to manage to pass the assessment at the end. Our training really aids the base to reach the basic standard for most SAR SAR organizations in this country. So who does our course should be able to pass the assessment, really. But the training is there, the people have the knowledge, and they should be able to pass this assessment. So who trains with us and is in a room and been training with us know that we have an honest individual training approach. And that is not everybody's thing. The problem with trailing is you need to be really, really honest with yourself, especially if you wish to go down the operational route. That you cannot say, yeah, that's good enough. Thank you, Liz. Liz is one of our handlers, and she's also one of our training instructors, and she has got a really, really nice cool hand too. So coming back to our training approach, what we do first is when we meet people, we do a fair, valid, authentic, and an individual team assessment. We look, what does the dog like? What's the handler like? What have they for reward? Can we have a look at that? Then we look at where are their skills? Where are they generally with their relationship? Is the dog capable? Have they done trailing before? Are they totally new to this? And then we set up an individual exercise. Everybody gets a trail set to their skills or at a level where they want to go. Because sometimes you have to push people to get the most out of the dog and out of the handler for sure. We have several harnesses and leads people can try because it's not easy to find the equipment that's right for you and your dog. We found harnesses that fit most dogs. We haven't come across a dog yet that it doesn't fit, because a harness is one of the most important things for the dog, because you need to make sure the dogs are not uncomfortable. Nose we nose, I usually describe that as an uncomfortable bra. If you wear that the whole day long, it really, really gets to you. And it's the same with a harness that slides, a harness that sheaves, a harness that restricts the shoulder movement is absolutely not suitable for trailing. It might be suitable for walking, but I have my own opinion on that anyway. One harness that's definitely not suitable is a Julius canine, because it cuts into the chest when the dogs pull in the lead. The lead is something very, very, very individual. It's a bit like boots. Some people like leather, like we do, rolled leather. Some people like biothane. Important is that the lead is, you can handle the lead as a handler, and you're able to work with the lead, reel it in, reel it out easily. It doesn't stick to vegetation. It doesn't get slippery when it gets wet, especially if you have a big dog. And we have a couple of leads for testing, and our harnesses obviously we use, and handlers can try them out. What we do after every trail, people work with us, we give a individual debrief, and we offer further training advice at the end of the training sessions. What we do is as well, everybody gets their individual training time during our weekend workshops. There is no rushing around. There is no, we have so many handlers to go through and all of that. We don't do that. We usually have about 3 instructors at every workshop. We never ever exceed 6 handlers to 1 instructor. Never. Usually we have about 8 handlers for 3 instructors. That's our ratio, because I think, and we all feel like that, if you have more handlers to an instructor, the training quality just goes downhill really, really quick, and nobody gets out of that what they should get out of it. We have a consistent approach within the instructor team. You will not have 2 instructors from the BMA saying totally different things. We vary maybe slightly in our approach. If we encounter a problem, we have a discussion and we come up with a solution we're going to try. This is how we work together. I put a couple of facts together and some fiction about trailing we've came across while we're doing this for over 10 years now. If you want to go the operational route and you never ever work the double blind trail in training, you will struggle on a real call out. It is double blind really highlights a lot of things, where your training problems are, how much pressure, how much stress you can take as a handler. I always say double blind can lift you up in the air or it can slam you on the ground. Double blind means nobody knows where the trail is except the person who run the trail. That's basically what double blind means. Because if you train, we usually train single blind. Single blind means that we as instructors lay the trail out, know exactly where the trail goes. So we can, and this enables us to instruct and influence. But if you do a single blind as an instructor, I tell you, your dog is not just looking behind and sees you. The dog is looking behind and sees us as well. People who follow and the instructor is able to cue a dog easily around the trail. And the handler never learned to read their dog properly. That's one reason why we always say at some point, our handlers in the course, module 5, who done the course, is a double blind. And it's really, really daunting. Only 2% of trails in real life lead up to a woke up find. And in 10 years, we nearly had 3 woke up finds, which one has been stolen by the food team, and 2 are basically stolen by the police. Stolen in the nicest kind of way. It's not in a nasty kind of way. We were going in the right direction, and what happened is the food team arrived from the other direction at the same time at the MISPA than the trailing handler. The other 2 is because now the Essex police trust us a real lot. They can see where the chaperoning officer is going with us, in what direction, and they release resources into that direction. We had a woke up find, but that was kind of in a reverse order because the MISPA decided to come back home and literally walked into Folly and Richard and they're back up. So that we don't think that class is a woke up find really, but everybody who returns safe home, or we are able to make sure they come home safe, it's a find. Because if you get to a bus stop like we have a lot, or other means of transport like train stations, and the police is able to follow this up using CCTV and the person's located, that's a find in our books. A well-trained dog with a high drive level is able to follow scent for a very long period of time. And that is why the handler have to be fit and very honest with themselves. If I have an evening where I'm not feeling great, we do not attend a call out because it's not fair on the dog, because everything you do and communicate goes down the lead. Everything. If you feel great, if you feel really, really rough, everything goes down the lead. If you're nervous, everything goes down the lead. So we run better not running a trail than running a wrong one or a bad one, as we say. As I said, we assisting the police for 10 years, a bit more than that. And we in Essex, we are 3 handlers at the moment. We have 1 handler in training. We have about 70 to 80 cases a year. We work for the police. So we have a kind of an idea of what we're doing or what we're not doing. Let's talk about a bit of fiction here. Dogs are able to work reliable and consistent trails that are months and years old. The cue is in reliable and consistent. Months and years old is total no-no. Days old is doable, but the odds have to be right. Everything has to be right. We had a case 2 years ago where it was Christmas Eve. Cedric and I went out first. We picked up trail. We lost the trail on a busy junction in a housing estate. And I called the trailer and said, up to here. After that, it's all not really, it's not enough to go on. Right. Kim has asked a question. Kim asked, when you're not finding the Mr. Hollywood the door. No person, no reward. No person, no reward. I tell him he's a good boy, and we go back to the van. We make sure our dogs have a success in training. If you have a lot of call-outs in 1 week, we make sure we go for a training session somewhere and make sure the guys get a reward, get a result. That's how we can keep them sweet. Coming back to this case, 5 days later, we get a call from the police saying there was another sighting. They have footage from a private CCTV camera and from some Ring doorbell footages, and they have another sighting. So Rich went out and took Folly, and she picked up, believe it or not. And Rich said to me that was like it was a fresh show. There was no difference in the pull on the lead. There was no difference in her body language, nothing. And they got to a little stream, which is an overflow to a massive fishing lake pond in a park. And she went in there and she was tapping it and she was licking it and she was whining and was agitated. And Rich said, I have no idea what that is all about. And the police turned around and said that was the last really idea they needed to give them a reason to empty that fishing lake. And the guy's been found in there because he went missing after a night out. So he basically, had fallen into the fishing lake and drowned. Dogs are not able to follow car trails. So if somebody drives along the M25, it's not going to happen. Definitely not. I know there's somebody in Germany who, on a regular basis, closes motorways to trail with a dog on it. So it's not going to happen. They are really good. And for the last piece, I like to share something with you guys. I always find very good.
Okay, where am I going?
Because dogs are really good.
Before Johnny's gone forever.
But they're not.
But what about the sun?
I don't know.
I think most of you guys.
Roll.
He just rolls. Rollability.
So we follow his
Most of you
movements.
guys.
When they run out, that's
know
where
the
you
thing?
come in, Wayne.
Me?
There. Yes. I
And
knew something
if you
would
look at
fall
it-
out of that backpack. Youch! That stinks. Work your magic.
Wait, you want me to track the smell? No. My sniffing tracking days are way behind me. Do you know how many diapers I've changed? How many number twos have destroyed this thing? But sit. Smell. I said smell. Not me, the shirt. The shirt.
Do any of your kids still respect you?
Give me a second. Oh, yeah. Winnie! Front and center!
He got into a car at 86 Fiat. It needs a little transmission work, but otherwise okay. It drove through town to the airport. Flight 497, 8 a.m. departure.
That's in 15 minutes.
Seat 23A. He ordered a vegetarian meal.
Okay, thank you, cutie. Now all of you, go back to your mother.
Well, as much as I like that to happen, it's not going to happen. Definitely not. I'd love to have a little werewolf like that, but we don't. Right, guys, this concludes our first ever webinar. And I hope you enjoyed this. Again, sorry for the technical problems and all the malarkey before this. If you have any questions, guys, fire away. This is your chance. You're welcome. We do one-to-ones as well. We do workshops at the weekend. We offer one-to-one sessions as well. The minimum is usually 2 hours. But at the moment, obviously, it's not going to happen, is it? We have to wait. We have to wait and see till we can meet again. Yeah. Hold on a minute. What is this, Lizzie? So you think dogs switch between tracking and trailing? I believe dogs train both disciplines through self-discovery. Yeah, that's what I said earlier, Liz, that some tracking dogs do self-discover, and it depends on the individual dog, really. Yeah, that's what I said earlier. Some dogs learn by self-discovery how to get quicker to the result without their handler actually recognizing. Yep. Any other questions, guys? You're very welcome. I enjoyed this. Thank you very much, guys, for coming. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait either. I can't wait, Becky. I just can't wait. Yeah, can't wait. So they're only follow. That's the idea of trailing. It is cued by the scent article. And this is why I use the biggest scent article I can find in the beginning. That's the cue. However, we train anti-poaching dogs and we wean them after a while of the scent article. They've been trained to take scent of a footprint or a carcass. But generally speaking, for the trailing, that's basically. As I said, Terry, you know what? It's the individual dog. I had bull breeds before. I had a boy who was lazy as anything. He wouldn't do anything. And I had a bitch. I had American Staffs, and she loved using her nose. She was an amazing search and rescue dog in Germany. Some dogs are just, for example, parks and stuff like that. It's individual dog. Some dogs just don't want to do stuff. Yeah, you're welcome to come to workshop. Yeah. I would, Beth, we usually have two commands. We hand task to the send article for take scent, and then we give a search command. That's what we do. I have two commands at the start for take scent, because sometimes we have to use fixed articles in the future, like car door handles or on a burglary, the windowsill, or I had something where I had to use a pavement. Well, the thing is, we still, Alex, we still want to do the course starting in May. We really determined to do that. We just have to wait and see what's happening. I'll be honest, I would love to do that, 15 months, she probably, as I always said with the mouths, sometimes they need longer to mature anyway. My Molly is 7 months old now. He did go from puppy brain to teenage brain at the moment, so he has no brain. Sometimes it depends on the dog as well, because she's a bitch, Alex. Carry on what you're doing if you can go out with somebody else. But hopefully, as soon this lockdown has been eased a bit, we maybe can meet for one-to-one or something like that. Mita, puppies generally learn better. I train all my scent and trailing dogs from puppies on, because what they learn when they're puppies, then they never forget what you teach them as puppies. But you can use an adult dog as well if the dog is happy to do that, if the dog is keen. Again, it's an individual dog. I prefer to start with pups if I have the opportunity, but you can use an older dog as well. Terry. One's really highly driven, acute, actually uses their nose a lot, get extremely excited. When we search at home. What type of bull breed is that, Terry? Is it a bull terrier? Is it the bull terrier or is it Staffy? I love bull breeds. And I always say the first one who comes to the SXR unit with the bull terrier is in no matter what. Just to prove a point. I love bull breeds. But some dogs, as I said, they just don't want to do things. French bulldog. Yeah, my friend Jackie, she breeds those. Well, that's all right. If the doctor loves it. It's no problem at all. I think Frenchies are actually funny. I look sometimes after some Frenchies for friends. Any other questions, guys? If not, I love you and leave you. Thank you ever so much for putting up with the technical palaver and all of that and attending. Thank you very much. Bye-bye for now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.